Thank you for listening to this podcast from TRE, Talk Radio Europe, your voice in Spain and around the world. For more information, please visit tre.radio.
TRE in the afternoon. Presented by Hannah Murray.
Good afternoon. It's just coming up to 5:10 and you are listening to Men Talk. With me in the studio today is Jeff Miller, Matt Jones and Andreas Gallardo. Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Thank you all for coming in. If you are listening at home and you'd like to get involved, you can. Here's how.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95.
What a beautiful day. It's a wonderful life.
It is Eurovision this weekend, the Eurovision Song Contest. Very exciting time for many parts of Europe. I thought it would be interesting to ask you if it's something that you're interested in, whether you've ever watched it, whether you used to watch it, you don't anymore, or whether you're an obsessive fan.
Well, yeah, I've watched it, but I wouldn't say I'm an obsessive fan. I think it's good entertainment at the end of the day.
You watch it each year?
Yeah, I try to, as much as I can. Yeah, but not parties-wise or anything like that.
You don't have a dress-up party or anything like that?
No. But there's always memorable songs from Eurovision, you know.
Totally.
Really?
Well, the Polish Milkmaids.
That was a good one. That was
you
hilarious.
See, you're going to pretend you don't
That
watch
was
it.
hilarious.
You know exactly what.
No, for me, in the UK, it used to be Terry Wogan.
Yes.
I used to love watching it with Terry because his sense of deadpan humour just made it
special,
hilariously funny. And then I fell out of favour of it for many, many a year until I got myself a Spanish girlfriend. She loves it.
Yeah.
I watched it all. She absolutely, whether it's her, I don't know whether it's a national thing.
Yeah.
But
certainly not a national thing. Well, I don't think so anyway.
So we watched it all the way. It's blimmin' long if you do it from start to finish.
A marathon.
And my favourite bit is the voting, but I can never stay awake. I end up falling asleep.
It's far too long now. Too many countries.
Exactly.
Well, Australia's in there this year.
Yes.
Well, talking of...
Been there quite a few years.
I just found I was listening to a BBC radio station on the way to work the other day. Yes, I'm sorry, my apologies.
Traitor.
And they were saying how lax the rules are. So, for example, the contestants for Ireland this year are actually from Denmark.
Oh,
you can represent a country without having to be born in that country.
So, like footballers, you can sign for a different club from a different country.
Exactly, it's like a different club. I guess.
Well, I'm not against it.
I feel like I knew that because Celine Dion is from Canada. And she represented
France.
Was it France?
Maybe
I think
Switzerland.
It was Switzerland.
I think it's Switzerland.
Yeah, so that's quite a good question.
Okay, well.
So actually, I feel like I know that. But hearing you say that now, that sounds a bit kind of mad.
Totally. I wish the British girls well. I've heard their song the other day. It
it
sounds
was my song of the week.
all right.
It's an interesting one.
Yeah,
It's
very interesting.
There's been worse.
In Spain, all I remember is that in the 60s they won once with a song titled La La La. That was
Very
good time.
imaginative.
A lot of thought went into that song. And number two, the second was Cliff Richard. I don't know what
They
he played,
beat
but
Cliff Richard.
the Spanish girl, Maciel, she beat Cliff Richard. I think it was 1967, something like that.
Yeah.
But I always loved that title of that song. It was magical.
La, la,
La La La.
Yeah.
When did England last win? It must have been Bucks Fizz, wasn't it? 82.
No,
we won
I
it
think
6.
Katrina and the Waves.
No. Well, we came second very closely with Spaceman. Who was that?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
It was a couple of years ago. Yeah,
But
she
that
was
was
one, but it went to
slightly
Ukraine.
maybe political
It was totally
choice,
political, wasn't it?
Yes.
When it went to Ukraine, yeah. So will you be watching it this year? No.
No.
Yeah, I'm going to try. Yeah.
Yeah?
I'll be on in the background doing stuff.
Whilst you're doing other things.
But I won't, like you, I won't stay up the end to the voting. I'm sorry, I'm old now. I need to be in bed by 10.
It's annoying because that is the fun part. Was it last year or the year before? I can't remember. It could well have been last year. And I think it was the first time that my husband and I watched it together in full. We weren't out, and I said, let's watch Eurovision. And we did. And so many of the songs... So something I never get, because they always say it's political voting, don't they? All of my favourites were... all of our favourites, the ones that we really liked, thought they were good songs, well put together, nice tunes, whatever... We're all like got nil points,
Totally.
And we're in the bottom half, and all the ones that we thought were diabolical were in like the top 5. Like it didn't make any sense to us at all.
It's
I never get it.
different countries stroking the other countries back, basically.
I just feel it's
it
not
really
about
is.
good music at
not.
all, which is quite annoying if you're watching it to try and like the songs. All the ones that I thought, oh, that's really good, nothing, no points.
But I have to say, going back to that Milkmaid one, that was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
Whichever country that
Stuck in
was,
my memory.
that was brilliant. And they're all
There are some
Plunge,
great ones. Very clever. Very inventive. Okay, there was an article this week talking about riders that you get if you're a singer or a famous person and you're doing a show, some of the things that you want in your dressing room. Sophie Ellis-Bextor, and she's been my Song of the Week this week, so that ties in, likes pickles. She's got a jar of big green gherkins. Now, I love a gherkin, but I'm not sure I'd pick them as things that I'd want in my dressing room. So if the opportunity arose and you were doing some kind of talk or performance or whatever, and you had a dressing room and they said, what would you like in there? And money was no object. You could have anything to eat or drink, not like a car. What would you have?
Whatever Keith Richards would have.
Yes, maybe we can't talk about that on the radio.
M&M's, but only the brown ones.
Are you really?
Just the brown ones.
What? Who likes the brown ones?
No one.
Okay.
But it's my
So you
rider.
feel sorry for them?
It's my rider. I just want a jar full of only brown
Because
M&M's.
you want some poor soul to
Exactly.
sit there swearing at you the whole time. What kind of person picks the brown M&Ms? It's a difficult one. I feel like this is quite similar to what your last meal would be.
Oh, yeah.
Because I always struggle with that.
Yeah.
I really can't think. I like lots of things, so I
Yeah,
struggle
totally.
to think of one thing, and I can't think what I would have in my room at all. I suppose some nice wine, although if you're performing,
But you're
you shouldn't have
performing.
too much wine. Yeah.
But mine didn't stop the Rolling Stones, did it?
No.
No, that's true. That's true. Some wine and some crisps, I suppose. I mean, that's really
But then you got to
boring.
sing.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like, to be fair, going back to pickle juice. Now, pickle juice, is that
it
good?
good for
the
Is that
voice?
good for your
No,
voice?
it's not inviting to have pickle.
Then go and sing. I mean, you
Yeah,
wouldn't want to
no.
be stood next to her after she's eaten a jar of
No.
pickles and goes on stage.
No, that's true.
Goodness gracious me.
Well, I'm not sure what the right thing to eat or drink is at all before you go on stage. Then there probably,
Probably
isn't
just
anything.
water or something boring like that.
Yeah, exactly. Water doesn't make a good story, does it? We'll move on. Okay. War films. There was an article about war films where people had to vote for their favourites, and they've put together a top 10. And I was really surprised and disappointed to see what film was number 1. It's Dunkirk,
Likewise.
which came out in 2017, starring Harry Styles. I actually didn't see it, so
No.
I can't kind of comment to say how bad it was, but...
It's okay.
Oh, is it okay?
It's
Oh, fair
okay,
enough.
but it's not up there.
It's no Apocalypse
No.
Now,
It's
which isn't
not
even
up
on
there,
the
which
list.
is
Not on the list. That's
Exactly.
what I've noticed. Yeah,
Totally.
it's not on the list.
Or
that one.
Platoon isn't on the
Platoon.
I
list.
was going to say
Exactly.
Glorious Bastards or something.
Yeah,
Inglourious
that's not on the
Basterds.
list.
Fury.
Absolutely.
No, that's a good one. I watched
Yeah.
that recently because that's just pop on the streaming platform.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
have-
really good.
I have to say, Saving Private Ryan is up there number 2, and that's definitely one of my, if
See.
not my favourite. That opening scene.
Yeah,
that's-
absolutely.
Oh, you live every moment of that.
Definitely. Incredible cinema. Incredible.
But could you also class Forrest Gump as a war film?
Oh, if you can,
In
then
the
that's my
broader
number
sense,
1.
probably.
Yeah, well, if you,
I don't think so,
I wouldn't
though.
class
But
it
you,
as a
that bit at the
there's
beginning.
sex,
as
yeah.
a war film. Although the war is featured in the film, but it's
Yeah,
about many
definitely.
other things.
See,
anyway.
exactly.
So,
Yeah. Oh,
my
if it
very
is, that's my
favourite
first.
war film, that would be a strange one for a lot of people, is Downfall. Downfall is the last few days of
Of
Hitler in the
Hitler, that's
bunker.
very good.
It's
Yeah,
a
very good.
super film.
Ooh, I
And the
haven't
funny
seen
thing
that.
is that it's a German-produced film with German actors, which is unusual because the Germans never used to make films about
Yeah.
the war in
Yeah.
Germany and
Yeah.
everything. But it's harrowing. and it's based on the memoirs of one of the girls in the typing pool in the bunker.
Okay.
So I assume that it'll be quite accurate to everything that happened there. It's quite long, it's 2.5 hours, but it's a wonderful film. It's super well acted by the guy who does Hitler and everyone else there.
So is it subtitled? Is it done in German?
It's done in German subtitles. Yeah,
yes.
I think that is the case. Yeah, although
And is it
I
quite
may
recent? Did it come
2004.
Okay.
So you can still find it out there. I don't know what platform will have it or whatever, but it's called Downfall, and I'd actually recommend it. Yeah.
Okay.
It's quite hard. You have to be quite thick.
Yes, it's not a rom-com. No.
Yeah, no. It's not the Great Escape or anything like that.
No.
You know, sweet and nice. It's quite hard, but it's amazing. Yeah.
Okay.
That's my favourite.
What's the one that's set in Sierra Leone after the helicopter crash?
Sierra Leone.
Oh, Empire of... No.
Black Hawk Down.
Black Hawk Down.
Now that's a good movie as
Yes.
well. Because what I like, I'm torn between war films because I love my classics. So I'm guessing on that list there must be Bridge Over the River Kwai,
Yes.
Dam Busters,
Yes.
The Longest Day.
Yeah.
See, they're all the classics. But then you forget now we have these new ones like Fury, Downfall, and they're a new generation. But maybe it's because of our ages that we get stuck in those ones that we've watched again and again and can still watch again and again. I'm going to watch a war film now when I get home
Oh,
this
there you
evening.
go. You see, I'm inspired.
Yeah, the
something.
missus is
I
going
want
to
to
be
watch
really happy
Downfall
with
again
that.
now.
Totally.
20 years since I watched it.
Schindler's List is on the list, of course, number 9, which again is a hugely powerful film.
They're all modern classics, though, generally speaking, because war films go back a long time. I mean, there's nothing from the 40s, the 30s.
And what's the one that's based in Vietnam? This Is My Rifle. There is no other rifle like it.
It's like an annoying quiz.
Stanley Kubrick.
Stanley Kubrick. Then it's the one with the Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket.
Yes.
That's a
The
movie.
helmet is on the poster. Isn't
Another
it? So
one which makes me cry every time, because we forget war films cover so many different genres, don't they? Vietnam war films were horrific.
Yeah, definitely.
We Were Soldiers with Mel Gibson. That is brilliant.
Oh, I'm not sure I've seen that.
Absolutely, because that also is a history lesson as well.
Yeah.
How basically it was the French's fault for the start of the Vietnam War, and they take you through the whole history. Very good. I love war films.
It's funny how wars are so bad and so horrible and everything, but we love to be entertained by watching it on a screen, you know?
It's really interesting because I've thought about this a lot. For me, I watch them and I love them because they're, but for the grace of God go I, that I don't have to ever go into one.
Yeah,
Yes.
I feel that same way. Be grateful you've never had to live that. And
exactly.
It does remind you of the horror and the absolute
Yeah.
frightening nature of the whole thing.
For sure. And it is, a lot of them are great history lessons.
Yeah.
You know, it's a great way to get youngsters into history, I think, for them to see films and
or to
you know,
understand
instead
aspects
of
of history.
And instead of just sitting in a classroom copying dates from a board, you can get a lot more from watching a film, I think.
Off on a tangent, it's a bit of a war film that I watched recently because it's like, I think it's been 40 or 50 years it's been released. It was a BBC film all about set in 1970s, and it's very dark and very 1970s, and it's all about a nuclear explosion goes off in Sheffield.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but it's maybe a listener could tell us. It's a really it's very 1970s in its style, but that's a very good movie as well.
We'll look it up.
Very good.
Okay, on to something completely different and less serious. Few would try to claim that childbirth is an easy ride, but according to a study, it's considered to be less trying than moving home. A third of respondents in the poll said moving to a new house was life's most stressful event. Do you agree?
Well, we're men. Right, okay. Well, we're all men, so we can't really...
Oh, no, you can't comment on the childbirth
Childhood
thing,
is
but
gotta be
that
stressful.
aside.
I just can't believe that.
Moving
Do you
house
think
is
that
hell on
moving-
toast,
Do you
let's
think?
face it. It really is. Perfect example. My brother, and this is not here, this is in the UK. My brother is making the big step and moving in with his girlfriend, so they've sold his house, sold her house to buy a bigger house with, may I say, quite a sizable chunk of money.
Yeah.
But the
Surely
problem
this is all exciting.
they keep getting gazumped.
Oh, no.
All the time.
Oh, that's awful.
So,
That is stressful.
so moving is the one bit. It's finding the house you want.
Yeah.
So
and
they
not
are
falling
literally
through.
doing, every weekend they're doing 9 or 10 different viewings.
Yeah.
And they're looking at a budget of like £450,000. So it's not like, but it's at that level where it's a lot of money,
Yeah.
but it's not enough for the next level. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If they had an extra 50 grand and they're £500,000, then that opens up a different door.
I guess if you break it down, there's different aspects of moving house in there. There's finding a house, which is
Yeah.
what Matt's
Yeah.
talking about, and it's actually then transitioning from one house to another.
Yeah, that's what
Two completely different things.
We are creatures of comfort, and when you move house, all your comforts go out of the window until you're settled, and that's what's stressful. You know, having to find a house, then having to move, to physically move, then to settle in the new house, and there's all these things that they're not quite right, and
New
you're not,
Wi-Fi,
and it takes months until you feel that you go home and you're settled, and that period is what makes you feel uncomfortable. So that's why these polls show that it's a stressful time. That it's not really. If you think of, there's plenty of other stressful things out there.
I agree. I don't think I can't think of a really horrendous move that I've had at all. I quite like the idea of having a new space and having to find homes for things.
Yeah.
That's quite fun for me. So I quite enjoy that aspect of it. I agree when you've got to wait for the Wi-Fi and all that kind of stuff is really annoying, but it's not kind of up there as one of the most stressful things for me,
I'm
to be
really
honest.
surprised childbirth isn't more stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, childbirth should be more stressful, especially for the man. You know.
Got to deal with this moaning
you're
woman
laughing,
all
but
the
I'm
time.
serious. I mean,
I'll hold your hand.
It's stressful to think that you're going to have a baby in the house and you have to do things to the baby and all that. I mean, that's frightening. That's why I don't have children.
Likewise.
Well,
Yeah,
no.
exactly. We can't relate. We better take a break.
Hannah Murray on TRE in the afternoon.
Good afternoon. You are listening to Men Talk with me in the studio today, Jeff Miller, Matt Jones and Andreas Gallardo. There is an article here with the headline, I'm 42 and healthy, but I have already planned my own budget funeral, and you should too. Is this something that you have done, you haven't even thought about, you think is a bit weird to do at such a young age?
Personally,
what are your
I've
thoughts?
not thought about it one bit, so I feel completely out of my depth in talking about that.
Does this article make you think you should think about it?
I don't know. It's just not something on my radar. I know I could make a headache for other people if I don't think about it.
Yeah.
But that's probably the bottom line.
It's easier for the people that you leave behind.
Yeah.
But it's human fight for survival that you don't think about death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Or plan for it.
Yeah. It's one of those things that we need to do, but I would rather go on holiday. If I'm brutally honest. And I'm insured. I'm insured to the hit. I've got, because of my mortgage, I've got my life insurance, I've got this. So when I'm dead, I'm dead.
Yeah.
And
don't really care.
They take the money from my estate.
Yeah.
For me, just the thought of someone struggling and everything, trying to sort out the funeral, I think is quite funny.
Funny?
Yeah.
You can look down from below.
You know, exactly. I just
can't
think,
believe
come
they've
on.
chosen that song.
Here's a little problem for you to solve. Bye. Yeah.
Even if they play Britney
No,
Spears at your funeral, you wouldn't mind.
No, but it is true that we walk around as if we were immortal and we don't think about death.
That's true. That's true.
And you have to have a positive thought about death because it makes you enjoy what you've got today, you know, and that's it's a good thing to have death present there as a positive thing, as a good thing for your life.
Yeah.
But the idea of dying and leaving someone behind, struggling with organising the funeral, I think that's very funny.
I guess here, just sitting here thinking about it, having not really thought about it before, but thinking of the complexities of it, if you wanted to be repatriated, say, for example, that throws up maybe
that'll be
bigger
even
legal
funnier.
complexities.
But I mean, surely you must have had just the casual conversations at dinner parties or whatever.
Yeah.
Whether you'd
Yeah.
want to be buried or cremated.
Yeah.
I'd assume your nearest and dearest know the answer to that question.
Yeah.
And songs. Have you not talked about funeral songs before? Just again as a dinner party conversation. Really? No.
I just don't think that's important necessarily. I mean, once you're gone, you're gone. I mean, if people want to celebrate your death or celebrate your life, however you want to think about it, they can do so in whatever manner they want to. I don't think me dictating.
No, I don't mean dictating. I wouldn't necessarily say you have to play
like
this.
It's important to me after I'm dead.
No, I agree. Actually,
but it's true. The funerals are for the people who stayed, for the living. You know, so you do whatever you want.
Yeah, I
because
agree.
it doesn't matter. You're not going to be there.
No.
So it doesn't matter what they play. Even if you play the songs that they'll play, it doesn't matter because you're not going to listen to them.
Absolutely.
So let them enjoy themselves and let them play whatever they want and have whatever they
I have heard of bad examples where people, planning their funeral have planned things. They wanted something small, blah, blah, blah. And then when it came down to it, just the opposite happened because the people were just not taking that on board as to what they, or is it important what they want?
Yeah.
Because what that person wanted actually was to exclude people from their funeral who wanted to attend.
Also,
like weddings, no? You're not invited.
Also, don't bring the kids, right? Don't bring the kids to the wedding.
Also, I think it's a generational thing. So, for example, now you look at TV adverts, you look at adverts in local press, and it's all simple cremation, done. Now, you go back 20, 30 years ago, when, my family are from gypsy stock.
Yeah.
So my nan is one of 13.
Wow.
So when one of them pop their clogs,
it's a big party.
Horse and cart.
Oh, wow.
The whole shebang, the whole regalia. That doesn't really happen anymore, does it? You don't. Growing up in just outside of Wolverhampton, a place called Bilston, at my nan's, it was very much a community, which doesn't really exist, I don't think, in the UK anymore. But I'll go off on a tangent. But you get what I mean. It's so Aunt Bessie comes. She's not your aunt. She's just known the family for you. Do you know what I mean? And they would stop. You would stop the street for a wedding, for a funeral. You'd stop the street. But I don't think that happens anymore.
Not so much, no. Not at all.
I have had one thought about my funeral.
Yeah, there you go. I knew it would inspire you.
I want to listen to this.
Stairway to Heaven.
Are you recording me?
So, being an ex-art teacher and things like that, I studied ceramics at school. And so what I thought would be a nice thing as a potter is to have whatever ashes, after I was cremated, turned into a glaze, and then a pot glaze. And then the remains of me goes into the pot. And I've got a cave at the back of my garden, and just stick it in the cave.
Oh, lovely. That's
funny you
great.
should say that, because going back to music, you can actually get your ashes pressed into a record of your favourite song.
Really?
Yes, you
That
can.
is
That's
cool.
a good idea.
Yes, you can. You can
That
get it
is
pressed
really
into
cool.
a 33.
It's amazing what you can do with ashes. I've done some amazing things with my mum's. I've got jewellery made from it, so I've got a necklace and a matching pair of earrings that's white and silver, so the ashes kind of blend into it. Really, really pretty. Yeah. And also some artwork as well, which is, again, made with resin. So it's the sea, and then you've got the beach on the side made with real sand, and some of her ashes are put into the beach.
That's nice.
So it's on my wall. So really, so you can do really, really lovely things. I love that. The possibilities are endless. Definitely. But I really like a personal funeral.
Oh, yeah?
I think it's nice when you go to a funeral and you learn a lot about the person who's passed over. And there's some funny stories, and you might meet different members of the family, and I love that. I think that can be really special. I think it's a shame when they're a little bit too religious and more about Jesus and less about the person who's died.
Yeah,
but that's just
they are, when they go on forever. I've been to a proper church one, and it's just like, you are kidding me. And then I've been to...
the person who's died's barely mentioned.
Totally. Exactly.
It's like, I'm not here
never
for
went
Jesus.
to church.
Yeah.
I went to my brother-in-law. The priest was talking, and I thought, but he's never been to church.
He doesn't even know you.
He doesn't even know you. I mean, it's...
Oh, no. Yeah, that's crazy. Okay. This is an article that we talked about last week because it's totally aimed at women, but I thought I'd bring it in today and flip it and see what you think. So the article is written by a woman, and she says, "Why do so many of my friends hate their husbands?" And she talks about getting together with various friends, and I'm not talking about the women saying things like, "Oh, he never washes up," or "Oh, he leaves a towel on the bathroom floor," or whatever. I'm talking about them saying really quite strong, emotive, horrendous things, saying, "I actually can't stand being in the same room as him, and I hate him, he drives me crazy." Really, really negative, horrible things. So I just thought it was interesting to ask you how different or not it is when men get together, whether they talk about their wives or partners in any particular way. You don't need to talk about yourself.
No,
you can say, "My friend does this."
It's more like you just said. Blah, blah, blah. Little simple things like...
The way she does this. Yeah.
But to actually seriously sit there and think, "I want to strangle you."
Yeah.
For example, there's couples counselling, or it's called a divorce.
Yeah, exactly. If you feel that strongly, why are you with them?
Why are you with them?
I agree.
I totally agree. I mean, if they're not that happy, why are they together? But that shows there is an element of dependency, one from the other, that they are in a way forced to be in the relationship because there are dependency issues there, and that is the problem. So that's when you sort of recommend, especially to young people, make your own life and your own independence first, and then go into a relationship, because you be in the relationship because you want to, not because you have to.
Absolutely.
That's a good,
definitely.
Yeah.
There was a book, as an author I interviewed a few weeks ago who'd written a book called, it was fiction, but written a book called Red Flags, and it was aimed at youngsters, at teenagers, to try and get them to understand the difference between red flags in a relationship and someone who's just naturally flawed and things that aren't necessarily a big deal. But red flags have become a real talking point in the last few years that weren't when I was growing up. And I think it's a really positive thing, you know, if you're with someone and they're doing something that, and a red flag isn't like, oh, they make a noise when they eat or something. It's not something that just annoys you. It's something like if they're showing signs of being really
agitating.
Jealous of, no, it's not. No, it's something
controlling.
That could pose to be possibly slightly dangerous. Maybe.
Yeah.
You know, if you're out,
in like a social setting, like at a restaurant.
Exactly. If you're out and they grab your arm and really tightly and say, no, let's go. It's time to go home now. Things like that. You're like, whoa,
or
that's
order
not
food
okay
for you in a restaurant. It's just maybe more covert sort of.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's an interest. Do guys think about? I mean, I know you're all in relationships and maybe haven't dated for a while, but if you can try and get into that kind of mindset, can you? Would do guys talk about red flags in women in the same way?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah,
I would say so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to elaborate.
No, because then we go down an absolute wormhole, to be fair.
I've never sat around with a group of guys where they said they hated their wife or their girlfriend. In which case, you know, like Andres was saying, there's issues there to be discussed.
Yeah,
totally.
Definitely.
And also, if you're that unhappy in the first place, number one, if couples counselling, talk, or, you know, sometimes it is difficult, as you said sometimes, Andreas, for you to be able to separate because of whatever. Maybe it's because of financials, maybe it's because of this.
Generally, mostly it's because of financials. And that's quite sad, because it ruins someone's life just because of dependency on money, and that's really sad. That's
definitely.
Encouraging independence will improve your love life completely, because then you are there because you want to. And that should be the main thing in a relationship, is that you are in that relationship because you want to, not just no.
You have to.
I think the idea of feeling trapped must be awful. Feeling
it
like
must
you
be
don't
awful.
have a choice.
Just be trapped, because then is when the hatred for that person develops even more, because you're trapped, and then you hate everything more than perhaps you should, and then it becomes impossible. I've seen it. I've seen it in couples, and it's quite sad. You think, oh my God, you're ruining your life. Just because,
life's too short.
Exactly. Just move on. If you're not that happy, move on. Do whatever you have to do.
Exactly.
Move on, and don't continue to be miserable for a long, long time.
Definitely. We better take another break.
Hannah Murray, TRE in the afternoon.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Men Talk. With me in the studio today is Jeff Miller, Matt Jones and Andreas Gallardo. There is an article here talking about junk food. It says children eat significantly more calories after being exposed to junk food ads, even when the ads show no food. Youngsters who spend just 5 minutes looking at or listening to adverts for unhealthy food were found to consume 130 more calories a day than those who didn't. My question is it the fault of the advertising companies or the parents? Because the parents are the ones that buy the food.
Both.
Okay.
Both.
Yeah.
If you look on one hand, you've got the freedom of choice. So you are free to consume that kind of food or not. But on the other hand, if you take a reference of all the products that they have disappeared from the advertising circle, like cigarettes, that has led to less people smoking.
Yeah.
Generally, not everybody, but less people smoking, which is a good thing. With junk food, you would have, I guess, you would have the same effect, with less the reduction of consumption, but also, if it's for children, the parents have to get involved in that because, as you said, they are the ones who pay for the food and to give it to the children.
They're probably put under pressure by the kids.
Yeah, exactly, by the other kids.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, as I said before, I don't have kids, but give them an apple. If they ask for something to eat, they can eat an apple. I've got friends who've got 2 kids, and they are from the very, very early age, very, very strict on the intake of sugar and sweets and everything else. Yeah. And these kids, every time I see them, they're now asking for an apple or carrot or whatever. And they are amazing. And you see them and so fit and fibrous and everything is they're really good. So it can be done, and that was the influence of the parents. So the parents have got a responsibility to take, but it also would help not to have certain adverts at certain times or certain products.
Well, this is a point I was about to say, Andreas. This is also a problem with social media. So, for example, I do believe in the UK, I don't know about here, but now you're not allowed in children's TV programmes to have junk food, certain advertising. Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's not the only thing that they have access to.
No.
They all have phones. And they go on to Minecraft and they do all that. And I don't know, but when you have access to these lovely things that we carry in our hands, which are very useful, at the same time they're very, very destructive. Yeah. And you're putting the power of your hands, all these kids who, these Lego masters on YouTube that do all these kids, and I want that and that, and then the adverts kick in and that's where the regulation, you can't stop. You can stop television, but you can't stop the adverts coming up on YouTube, for example.
Yeah. I think one of the things which is would be a big change, but I think so many parents refer to bad foods as being a treat.
That's
and
so
kids
true.
From a young age think of fast food meals or chocolatey things or things that are bad for them or deemed to be unhealthy as a special treat. If they've been good, then you can have these things that are deemed to be a treat. Yeah. So kids associate them with being a really good thing. If I'm good at school or if I'm nice to my mummy, we get to go to a certain restaurant or we get an ice cream or we get a chocolate bar.
For me, it was a pot noodle. I was only allowed a pot noodle. Growing up in rural Gloucester, we used to go and do the monthly shopping at a certain Safeway. That's showing my age, crikey. And I was allowed one thing.
Yeah.
Of guilty pleasure. I call it
and
a
you
pot
would
noodle.
You choose a pot noodle.
I love that.
I love
You can have whatever you want. What do you want, darling? Pot noodle. Excellent, I love it.
Brilliant. Jeff, do you remember having that issue with bringing up your kids?
I think it's a rephrasing issue. You talk about junk food, but rather it's convenience food. So if you choose to go to a certain restaurant, you're choosing the convenience of not going home and preparing food. And Andres brought up the idea of an apple. An apple's easy. It is convenient to eat an apple, but often other foods require a little bit of preparation. Whether it's a packet of crisps, it's just you open it up and there it is.
Yeah.
And then you get addicted to the sugar, salt, and things like that. So with a little bit, I think I blame it on bad parenting because the advertising influences the kids, regardless of their age,
Yeah,
to
and
buy
then it's the
certain
parents
things.
to say no.
And then parents have to say no. Oh, yeah, we could do that, but we could do this instead. And then taking the time and the effort to do preparation with their kids of something.
Yeah.
Even cutting up an apple. If they
totally.
Yeah.
But again, if you've got the time to go to a restaurant and get a takeaway or eat in, there are obviously lots of other choices that you could make that would be healthier.
Yeah.
So going out for a meal should be a treat, should be a nice special occasion. It's not something, depending on your family, it's not something you're going to be doing every day.
No.
So therefore, if the child's been good at school, you could go out for a meal together. I mean, you don't have to go out for a meal and have a salad, but, you know, a pizza and a salad or something is going to be better than other fast food restaurants.
Same thing, depending on the age of the child. It's the choice that you give them. So if it's a young child and you're allowing them to choose rubbish food, chicken nuggets and chips.
Or pot noodles.
Then you're kind of setting a precedent and things like that. But if you go out and you have a healthy meal together and make them choose a healthy meal.
Yeah.
But by banning those, you're opening the door. I mean, what do you think? Do you think we should ban alcoholic drinks, for instance?
Or vapes. Candy floss flavoured vapes.
All vapes, you know. I mean, you're opening a door there to banning everything, taking away the
freedom
of choice. Yeah. So if we're opening that door, we're gonna have to ban an awful lot of things that are bad for you.
Well, I think fruity vape should absolutely be banned.
But then we are not developing responsible people. If you know what I mean. So
to make
you have to responsible choices. So you know that.
But I think most adults wouldn't choose candy floss vapes, or pink grapefruit vapes, or bubblegum vapes. They're absolutely aimed at children.
And do you know what? They are as well.
They totally are. Yeah. You know, if you've got an adult that's trying to quit smoking that starts vaping instead.
It doesn't go for candy floss, does it?
No, it doesn't.
No, you want as similar
exactly,
to nicotine as you possibly could.
They'll go for a one that
that's a very
tastes
good
like
point,
a cigarette.
In my local village, it's inland, it's less than... These plastic disposable vapes...
They look pretty, they smell lovely.
They're pink, they stink, actually.
Well,
but the kids absolutely love them. And they're not allowed to have them. They are 18. But, you know, they get them from somewhere.
Yeah.
And also, on a side note, the amount of these disposable ones, the amount of plastic that's in them is...
Yeah. It's shocking. The whole thing is shocking. Evil, I think.
So you have to start banning that and banning
they ban them in the
fast
UK.
Food. And then you'll have to ban alcohol adverts and alcohol, you know, or put them behind shutters like they do with cigarettes in the UK.
Where do you draw the line? I get where do you draw the line?
No, I think that's going too far. I think it's about responsible advertising. It's about they have an ethical responsibility.
It's not responsible advertising because the alcohol is there, but it's responsible consumption. So we have to, the parents and perhaps even the education system should be teaching about responsible choices.
Oh, they do.
And then... because that makes us stronger people later on in life. They're stronger people knowing that they know how to make choices, you know, and they're not led by...
The thing is, young kids don't know how to make those responsible... I mean, lots of adults don't either, but alcohol advertising is aimed at adults. You know, you couldn't advertise on television alcohol for kids because obviously that would be illegal. And...
Alcopops.
But
Alcopops, and if you go to the Botellón, which is a gathering of kids in a square at night that happens in
Coca-Cola,
Spain.
red wine.
Yeah, I mean, they're kids and they're consuming alcohol. So the advertising is obviously working on them as well.
Yeah.
It's not, you know...
But fast food advertising, a lot of it is aimed at children. That's the difference, isn't it?
Just think of the classic Golden Arches.
Exactly.
And look at their little kids' meal. Which from year dot,
exactly,
you
All
get a
absolutely.
cartoon
toy.
characters.
You get a toy.
Totally, for
End
children.
of.
Yeah. Oh, we've got another break to take, sorry.
Oh.
I've got 5 minutes.
Hannah Murray. TRE in the afternoon.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to the very last part of today's Men Talk. We were talking about junk food ads and whether they should be banned or not. Go.
Well, what I wanted to say was this. The thought during the break was that I live in an inland village as well. And one of the proudest things about my village is we have no fast food restaurants. And I think that's just absolutely brilliant.
That's true. Actually,
You don't have any, do you?
No, not at all.
Just simple
that's
things
really
like
good.
that, I think, make a difference. It's not an advert necessarily, but it's access to junk food. And that's
It is access. It's like a perfect example. I live inland, but I've been on the coast today, and I treated myself this morning
Don't say
to a certain breakfast from a certain company. So you're right. If it's in front of you,
yeah, exactly.
you go, oh.
Which is why you need to be careful what you buy in the supermarkets, because if it's at home, you'll eat it. If you haven't got it at home,
Correct.
you can't eat. I mean, it sounds really obvious,
And
but
also, never go to a supermarket hungry.
hungry.
We all know that
That's the main one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that. You
Yeah.
go, what the hell am I going to make with all that? That doesn't go with that.
Happens every time. Yes. We've really started to plan meals a little bit more.
Oh,
so
yeah.
when you're going
That's a good
shopping,
idea.
you know that that's for
Find
Monday night,
specific
that's for
things.
Tuesday night, that's for
Yeah.
because I hate food waste, and it was so easy to happen.
And I like to vat cook.
You do what?
Vat cooking.
Oh yeah, do a load at the
Do
same
a load
time.
and freeze it.
Yeah.
Good
we
idea.
are at the end of the show now. Thank
Really?
you all very, very much. Well done. We filled 2 minutes ridiculously quickly and easily. Thank you to Jeff, Matt and Andreas. Have a marvellous weekend. I know it's only Thursday, but the weekend starts tomorrow for me. I will be back on Monday at 4. Howard Brereton is next with Spain Today. Have a good one and enjoy the sunshine. Oh, the wind's died down as well. That's good.
You've been listening to a TRE production. If you've enjoyed this program, there'll be another episode waiting for you next week, right here on this platform, where you can also access our extensive back catalogue of shows and interviews. For more information on our live programming, social media channels and apps, and how to contact Talk Radio Europe, please visit tre.radio.